I know so many people that are afraid to be wrong.
Mm.
I'm gonna tell him.
Ricky, you can walk.
He's telling you the truth, man. It's all in your head.
They're so afraid to be wrong that they can't even consider.
You sick sons of bitches. You wanna see what my life is?
Even when all the evidence points that they're wrong, they
Yeah.
refuse to let go of it.
Oh, man! Ow!
Sometimes now, if somebody tells me I'm wrong, I'll react not well.
I don't believe you.
But
Yeah.
I always take it and think about it later. I always do. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, they're right.
I miscalculated.
Yeah.
Right, because I wasn't seeing it from the perspective that they were talking.
Hmm.
And I'm so happy when that happens
Yeah.
because every time I find myself more free
Yeah.
and feeling better.
Yes. I know. Even if you don't remember every time it happens, it's a
Yeah.
cumulative effect, and you're more and more and more right over time. And that's what we want for everybody, ourselves first.
Yes.
'Cause I got to live with me every day. Welcome back, Unlearners. James and I are here to unlearn some stuff too. Today, we wanted to talk about hope and expectation and how they're different. And so we were already talking and we were going down that road of hope being conflated with expectation, and expectation being conflated with hope, and hope being thought of as wish, basically. I wish. One of the verses you brought up was the Jesus standing at the door and knocking. You were tying it to the idea that if somebody knocks at your door, you're not hoping that there's somebody on the other side. You're expecting that there's somebody on the other side. You know there's somebody on the other side. You can't see them yet because you haven't opened the door, but you heard a knock. That's what happens at doors. And so you completely expect that somebody is going to be there.
When you look in the New Testament, Old Testament too, but you look in the New Testament and there's marvelous things that God has promised. There's marvelous things that he says he's done and
Yeah.
accomplished. There's marvelous things he's done to us and in us. But because of what we've learned, it doesn't excite our expectations.
Mm-hmm.
What we've learned is that this world is full of trouble and there's very likely a trouble right around every corner. Some people have wonderful attitudes and are able to not expect something bad around every corner. My wife is one of those. It's wonderful. But most of us, there's a negative expectation in the back of our minds that often causes us to see things differently than what other people see,
Yeah.
or differently than what God says is true. And we've come to this place in society and all the societies where we're always expecting bad, or at least not expecting good or better.
Why do you think people don't have that good expectation?
Oh my goodness. That is, I'm glad you asked that. Thank you.
You bet.
Um, this goes back to, I just have to tell you, I think I've told you in the past, but as I've said, repetition's wonderful. I had terrible emotional problems. I had been declared by a doctor, a psychiatrist, manic depressive.
Mm-hmm.
Today they call it bipolar.
Mm-hmm.
And they put me on the medications. Oh man, if I felt bad before with the medication, it was terrible.
Right.
And I was told that medication was the only answer for it. I would never be able to recover from that because nobody ever did recover from it. They
Right.
just had to stay on the medication. And I accepted that, but it didn't make me feel good. And I couldn't take those meds because they made me feel so bad.
Mhm.
So for years, I was up and down. It was terrible.
Yeah.
And then one night, after a particularly difficult few days, um, I went to a seminar by a guy named Malcolm Smith. And the seminar was called The Search for Self Worth Healing for a Codependent Society. I have no idea why I wanted to go to that. Just Sandra and I wanted to go to the seminar.
Yeah.
And in the first hour of the seminar, he talked about something called the lie. I'd never heard of this, and uh, I was surprised when he pointed out that in Romans 125, where it talks about that they believed a lie rather than the truth, and they worshiped the creature rather than the creator.
Mhm.
He pointed out that where it says in every translation a lie, that's incorrect. That the Greek has a definite article before lie, so it's the lie. So since nobody has ever seen that it says the lie, well, that would mean a specific lie. And obviously, if this says a lie, well, any lie. So they believed any lie, and that caused them to worship the creature rather than the creator.
Mhm.
And um, since I had somewhat of a foundation in Greek, uh, didn't take me long to find out that he was right. But when he said that, before I even checked the Greek, I he explained the lie, and I was blown away.
Would you be able to just a quick, okay, here's the lie? Because that's one that I always love hearing and have want repeated.
Yeah, yeah. In Genesis, verse 4 and 5 of the chapter 3, then the serpent said to the woman, "You will not surely die. For God knows that in the day you eat of it, your eyes will be opened, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." To sum it up, if you do the right thing, you will be wise like God, knowing good and evil, knowing what to do, being in control.
Yeah.
That's essentially what that is saying. And once that belief was planted in mankind, it never went away.
Yeah.
Today, look at anything, look at any behavior, look at the way people talk, and everybody wants to be in control. And the way that we talk, the way that we believe is that I know you're wrong, I'm right. And we all believe in one sense or another that we are God.
Yeah.
We act like God. And everything that we do revolves around gaining control and getting in control of whatever it is. It doesn't matter. And that lie
Mhm.
that I am responsible and I have got to accomplish, I've got to make it happen, whatever. I've got to do it. I'm a God.
Yeah.
I've been told I'm a God and I'm a God. I know I'm a God. It's almost in our genes, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's deep inside of the human consciousness and has been for thousands of years.
Yeah.
And we keep seeing the result of this because everything we do ends up failing. It
Yeah.
may start off working, but everything ends up not being what it could be.
Yeah.
Now, right now, you've got Elon Musk. He's going to start a new civilization on Mars. And he's got success after success after success, we think. It looks like.
Right.
But it all of it requires us doing everything right and making no mistakes. And if we make mistakes, it will fail. So we've got to be perfect. It's
Yeah.
all part of the lie. We've
Yeah.
got to be perfect. And so some parents train their children, you've got to be perfect. And if you're not perfect, you're not good enough. I mean, the lie is has seeped into everything, to
Yeah.
all of our thought processes. I
Yeah.
mean, I find it in my thinking so often.
Yeah.
But over the years, as God shows me, there's the lie, and I realize, oh, you're right. That's all. That's not true. I knew after he explained the lie that I had swallowed it hook, line, and sinker. Believing that lie caused me to think badly of myself, to think badly of other people, to think badly of everything. That caused me to expect bad, to expect wrong, to at least not expect good, to at least not always expect to win.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a shocking to me because I later on when I studied the Greek, Malcolm was right. It changed my life because I had always had trouble accepting that people loved me, that I was important, that I was a nice person. I just had a bad attitude about myself because that's what I've been taught by my parents. And
Mm-hmm.
I was depressed.
Yeah.
And and when I realized that I believed the lie, I when he then went on to talk about unconditional love and explained unconditional love, and I realized that the reason that I had never felt loved, never felt important, never been able to be successful in anything for long term was because I believed the lie. But that specific lie was holding me back and causing me to have bad expectations. And my expectations to me were true. They weren't fake. I really expected, I really believed all the things that I'd been taught and expected that that was my reality. I wasn't hoping it was going to be my reality.
Mm-hmm.
I expected what I had been taught to be my reality. And
Mm.
I lived with that for decades until Malcolm pointed out that lie, and then my growth began to explode, and the manic depression disappeared overnight.
Yeah.
And I've never had a problem with it since. And it was simply because I was believing a lie. And as a result of believing a lie, I was believing lots of lies.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I realized that much that I know isn't true. The problem is, I don't know what I know that isn't true. But I realized that I had a body of knowledge. When Paul talked about the body of sin, I realized he wasn't talking about a body here doing wrong. He was talking about a body of knowledge of error because sin means error. That's really what the Greek word means. Nobody translates it that way, but that's what it means.
Mm.
It doesn't mean, in the first century, it did not mean the things you do wrong. It meant the things you believe that are not true. As you learn to believe what is true, and the false knowledge that you've learned falls away, your attitude begins to change, and you begin to see things from a new perspective. And oftentimes the new perspective that you're seeing is what God sees.
Mm-hmm.
And when you learn to think like God, as I've talked about for so many years, you begin to act like God.
Mm-hmm.
But we're little gods. We're just little bitty people. We're little. And
Mm-hmm.
some people react to my saying that we're little gods. Well, Jesus said we're little gods.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said, that he didn't say little gods, he just said we're gods. And he says the scripture says you're gods and it can't be broken.
Yeah. I remember learning that Christian means little Christ.
Yeah.
And um Christ wasn't Jesus's last name. Christ was Jesus's title, right? It was
Yeah.
who he it was who he was. And so for us to be little hymns, it absolutely points to the fact that we're gods, little gods, whatever. Because yeah, that's what we're, little Christs. We're Christ in according to the Bible, calling us Christians.
I look at who God is and what he's promised, and the fact that he is love, and he told us he is love even back in the Old Testament. When, yeah, you see all the terrible things that seem to happen and terrible things that God seemed to do, but there's always this overriding theme that he cared about the children of Israel and he cared about the world. And so many things that in the Old Testament tell us that he really didn't care. So there's areas where God says he did care, and there's massive things where it's obvious God didn't care.
Yeah.
That's a conflict. That's a contradiction. I approach everything when I'm reading the word from who is God. And if you don't know who God is, then we got a problem, because if you don't know who God is, it's going to be hard to understand his words, because you can take them any way that occurs to you
Yeah.
and assume that's true. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But once you know who God is, it's easy to look in the New and Old Testament and realize that those scribes and those teachers back then, um, they they didn't necessarily have it right. And
Mhm.
so we've got to go to God and say, who are you? And when you begin to understand who God is, it will raise your expectations
Mhm.
to expect more.
Yeah.
And when you expect more, I'm not talking about hoping more. The Bible talks about the word hope. It's the Greek word elpides. Hope in our society today is a wish, as you
Yep.
said.
Yep.
It's a desire, it's a longing. That's not what God's about. He's not about what he may do in the future. He's about what he's already done. Everything that God thinks today always rests upon what he and Jesus accomplished in the death and resurrection of Christ.
Yeah.
When God looks at today, it's with the remembrance of what they absolutely accomplished
Yeah.
when Jesus took all mankind to death and then rose again with all mankind inside him as members of his body.
Yeah.
And when you start realizing what God went through to redeem, and I hate that word redeem because it doesn't mean the Greek word doesn't mean that God bought us back. It's better than that. It's more wonderful than that. God didn't need to buy us back.
Mhm.
He needed to start us over. And that's what happened. And so God and Jesus, they've done marvelous things because they mean it all for good. They
Mhm.
don't have a bad attitude about any of us. They have a pain in their heart for what many of us are suffering, because they know that it's all unnecessary, because he did do what he promised to do. The problem, the thing that grieves me, is that humanity as a whole has such low expectations of God. They have such low expectations of themselves. It's critical that we have good expectations, that we have not just good expectations, but that we have God's expectations,
Mhm.
because his expectations are true. And when he expects something, it's not in the future, it's right now. He
Yeah.
is expecting to see what he has accomplished for us and in us. We aren't,
Right.
and that creates a hindrance for him, but it's only, I don't guess it's even a hindrance. He knows how to work around this. He's got to educate us to know, or to be knowing what he knows.
Mhm.
It's actually, he's seeking to educate us so that we're knowing what we know, because what we know is what he wrote in our hearts. It says that several places, particularly in Hebrews, where God has written his instructions in our heart. The instructions of life, the DNA of Christ, are written inside of us. When it talks about in First John the seed of God, that the Greek word is sperm or sperma, and we literally have the DNA of God inside of us. We don't have some other nature. We don't have other, we are members of Christ's body with the same DNA that Jesus has. And the DNA is, as you remember from high school, is the instructions of life that are written in all your cells. Wow. I want to see people's expectations raised to the point where they begin to expect more from God, and they expect more from themselves, and then they can expect to learn. God is a teacher, Father. He's Abba. He teaches. So many people think the Holy Spirit is a teacher, and to some degree he is, but really the Greek that talks about the Holy Spirit teaching really means that he causes us to learn. He's inside of us, and I call him my learner.
Mm.
Abba is my teacher, and the Holy Spirit is in me, causing me to learn and understand what my Father is teaching me.
Mhm.
And when I know these things and so much more, my expectation raises, and I just say anything's possible with God. That he's not the monster that I was taught.
Yeah.
He is a father who wants good for every one of his children, and he knows the only thing his children need is to be knowing the truth like he knows it. Where all of this gets fixed is in grace.
Mm.
Grace is the answer to the lie. Grace completely destroys the lie in your life. But since we've not been taught what grace is, as I've said so often, grace, unmerited favor. Yeah, it's true, but that's a terrible definition. To
Mm.
me, it's a disgusting definition, because what do I do with that? What does that mean in terms of my life?
Yeah.
Grace.
Yeah.
Well, grace is just simply God giving himself and everything that he owns and possesses to each one of us to live his life inside of us, enabling us to live like God. That's it.
Yeah.
Now, that can talk about for weeks and months,
Right.
forever.
Yeah.
But the lie works against grace, because the lie says that grace is just unmerited favor. It's just unmerited favor. It's something you don't deserve. Wait a minute. Who said I don't deserve God's love?
Right.
He is a father, and he gave birth to every one of us out of himself inside Christ. So we're all inside Christ. We absolutely deserve grace.
Yeah.
We absolutely deserve God's favor, not because of what we've done, but just simply because of who we are.
Yeah.
We are his children,
Mm.
and we deserve to be cared for, to be loved. That's what God thinks.
Yeah.
That's his thoughts, that we deserve good, and he has no intention of us deserving bad. But many people think the opposite. And
Yeah.
so, um,
Expect it.
yeah. And
They
so,
expect the
what
opposite.
what my heart, my passion is to help people raise their expectation so that um, they can begin to see what God sees.
You said that every day for God is right now.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of blows the idea of hope out of the water and replaces it with expectation.
Yeah.
Because if every day is now, then why would it be later? Now, we do live on a kind of a timeline, right?
Yes,
Like
we live
humans
in
do.
time. There's
Yeah,
two
we,
types of time. There's two
yeah.
types of time. There's Chronos time and Kairos time. We
Okay.
live in Chronos time. Tick
Okay.
tock.
Yeah. I would love to hear your distinction between the two because we do live in, yeah, Chronos. And yet I'm assuming God lives in Kairos time.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so however, the fact remains that he isn't experiencing it in a way that it's okay, you're 25 now, you're going to go through 10 years of garbage, and then when you're 35, there's this thing that I'm, wanting you to look forward to. Because he's not looking at it like that. He's not looking
Correct.
at it as, okay, you've got to live 10 more years in Chronos in order to get this, the idea of God living every day right now. That's it blew my mind when I found out that's what eternity was. It wasn't a really long time, long, it was a all present time, which is you said too. God said before Abraham was, I am, which chronologically sounds even weird. Not
Yeah.
only does it not make sense, but it also grammatically doesn't make sense. Before he was, which is before now, I am, which is present. Like that doesn't it doesn't make any sense, but
I
it's
know.
true. It is a true statement. So I wanted to highlight that for people that might give them an understanding of the kind of the difference that we're talking about, that expecting, like we
Man,
said,
you
Jesus
you
standing at the door and knocking, you expect somebody is standing on the other side of the door when you hear a knock. It's been twisted that hope is going to the door when there is no knock, and you just open it and you hope something is there, a person or a package or whatever. But expectation is there's a knock, and
yeah.
it's not a
Yeah.
guess, it's not a, well, boy, I'll open the door. Oh, there's nothing there. Okay, I'll close it, and still no knock. I'm going to open it again, and there's nothing there. There's a knock happening, and
Wow.
there's something on the other side of that door that we're looking for, that we're talking about. But I
Well,
think
you just said all of that better than I could.
oh no, I was repeating what you were saying from before we started recording, where you said God isn't in time the way we are,
Yeah.
and doesn't look at it the way we do. Every day is now. He am always,
Yes.
always am. Never was,
Always,
never
right.
were, never gonna be. Always am.
Always am.
I am now. And then in 50 years I am now, and that's him, and it's all at the same time now to him. To
Yeah.
us, we're kind of living it a little differently, but I think getting that idea is so powerful. That movie Arrival, which I loved, and
Yes.
with the gal who was kind of seeing around time, seeing all things at the same time.
Memory is a strange thing. It doesn't work like I thought it did. We are so bound by time. If you could see your whole life from start to finish, would you change things?
And as I was watching it, spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen Arrival, skip ahead, but at the end of the movie, she is talking to her husband and they decide to have a baby.
You want to make a baby?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, the end of the movie is not the end, it's the beginning, because throughout the movie, she's already experienced having a daughter and her daughter dying. And it broke her heart.
I used to think this was the beginning of your story. Come back to me. Come back to me. I love you. And this was the end. Come back to me. Baby, come back to me.
But by the time we get to that end, she knows that's what's going to happen, that the little girl's going to be born and die. And she decides to have the baby anyway.
But now I'm not so sure I believe in beginnings and endings.
To my eyes, opened up, oh my gosh, that's what God did. He knew how this was going to go. He knew it was going to be hard and scary and all this stuff, and yet he loved us, and so he wanted us, and that's the whole motivation.
Yeah.
And that makes us a very, very, as you've said, wonders, very, very special. We're not a burden he's got to deal with. He's outside of time. He saw the end, he saw the beginning, and he still decided at the beginning, when in Genesis, when he said, let's make man in our image. At the end of that movie Arrival, when the husband and wife, the husband says, do you want to make a baby? And she says, yes. And you saw through the whole movie how hard and brutal and sad and heartbreaking it was going to be. And she still said, yeah, I do. I want a baby. I want those kids. I want them. I love them. And that's what Jesus did. And he knew it was going to be hard. He knew it was going to be hard on us. He knew we were going to break his heart. And yet it was so important to him. So anyway, good movie to watch for looking at how eternity is, and where we fit and everything in it.
You were talking about eternity,
Mhm.
and I found this. I don't know where we were that we found this, but can you read that?
Yes. Yep. Forever is composed of nows.
My
That's great. Yeah.
And
Holy moly.
yeah, and I forever composed of nows. I did an etymological study of the word forever and found that when you take it way back, because it's a compound word, and when you take it all the way back to before Christ, there was a point in time at which part of the word meant now. The other part means forever. And I thought, wow, this word could mean a bunch of things, but one of the meanings could be forever now. And I thought, but that's exactly who God is. He's forever now. Nobody translates it that way.
Right.
They translate it eternal or eternity. But
right. Which
my
in my brain for forever was a long time.
A long time.
10 million years. The Amazing Grace. When I've been there 10,000 years, it'll be no less days since when I began to sing God's prayer. I'm screwing up the song, but yeah, it's a line. It's a, yeah.
And when I saw this, it's just a pad of notepads with written on the back of it. So I've never opened it up to take, I don't want to use the paper. Forever is composed of nows. That was like, wow.
Yeah.
People, and who knows, did a believer create this, or was this just somebody that is just, they're not a believer, but they saw it.
Just knew it. Just that, oh my gosh, wait a second. Yeah, forever is all nows. That's all. Yeah, you don't have to be in the Bible. It's our DNA.
So, yep. So we can go there someday. But one of the things, I mentioned about chronos versus kairos. Chronos is TikTok time.
Mm-hmm.
Kairos is you nailed it. It's God's time. Okay,
Yeah.
it is heaven's time,
Yeah.
and that's a wonderful subject because everything is now, and it's. I also another way I call it is event time, because it explains the issue in the first part of Genesis about uh, the first day, the second day, the third day, the fourth day. How can that be 24 hours? It's
Right.
not. Okay.
Right.
God was telling us about event time. And so the time that was talked about in Genesis of a day, was not in terms of TikTok. It was in terms about the event or events that happened. And
Mm.
those events were considered a day.
Mm.
And because it's Kairos, it's God's event time. Kairos is usually translated due time, which is wrong. It's but they have no idea what the word means, so due time works.
Yeah.
But it's event time. It's God's now time. The thing is that the thing about Kairos versus Chronos is that you literally can come to learn how to walk in and out of them so that you can be living in Kairos time and suddenly you're living in Chronos time, and you literally can go in and out. That's one of part of what Jesus was talking about when he said you can go in and out.
Mm.
So it gets real exciting because you begin to see that, wow, what this world becomes humdrum
Yeah.
when you realize that you are inside Christ, which means you are inside his reality with him, and his reality is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And we can live inside of his reality and enjoy his reality, or we can continue to live with the expectations that we have and living the type of life that we've been living. And the thing is that our expectations are our expectations, but then you can get group expectations, you can get neighborhood expectations, you can get state expectations, you can get nation expectations. And all of us, though we are all living our own realities, we are also combining our realities with others, and that creates group realities. I've listened to a few quantum scientists that seem to have a sense of this, but they're trying to learn how to write it all out in a formula on a chalkboard. Well, Jesus has a better way, and we can learn to live in these realities and in these truths. But it will be God Himself living His life inside of us, enabling our vessels to live like Him.
Mm.
That's crazy,
Yeah.
but
Oof. Yes.
it's real,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
But we don't expect that.
we don't expect it. We've not been taught anything that would even cause us to want to expect that. And whereas the church
Yeah.
that could be teaching these things,
Yeah.
the church is sure that their understanding of the Bible is true and the reality, and they spend their time in areas that are just worthless.
Yeah. Defending bad ideas.
Yeah, defending. You have such a great way of rephrasing some of the things I say.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I got to make it make sense for myself.
Yeah. Yeah, and for
To
other people too, you know?
right. Well, I guess that'll probably be good for now. We can, as always, keep going and digging and looking and everything, but we'll save some. Until the next time, we'll sign off and we'll ask people to like and subscribe and comment. There should be a little plus button or maybe even a an empty